Hello, everyone, and welcome to another episode of Justin the Food Entrepreneur Show. I'm Justin Bizzarro. I'm your host. That's Bizzarro. If you're out there and you want to find us, you can find us on Spotify, Apple Podcasts, YouTube Podcasts, or anywhere else you grow yourself through podcasts. So all those major syndicators, you can find us. You can also find us on Instagram at Justin the Food Entrepreneurs or at Justin Bizzarro. So with that being said, I have a very special guest and friend back, James from Dough Boyz I think still out of Rochester, New York.
Yes, sir.
How you doing, James?
I'm good. Life's good, man. Just getting ready for the weekend.
Yeah, tell me, let's talk. It's been 18, 19 months since we last talked.
Yep.
It's been some gaps. Both of our lives have probably changed quite a bit. It sounds like yours has. So let's start a little bit about what got you into pizza in the first place and review that with the audience. And then let's sort of get into the time capsule over the last 18 months.
Cool. Okay. So basically I got into pizza. I've been an executive chef for quite a while now in Rochester and kind of bounced around from restaurant to restaurant. And I landed at this one restaurant that it was called Branca Basin. Or Branca, and it was in Bushnell's Basin. And they had a wood-fired pizza oven. It was an high-end Italian restaurant. Never made pizza a day in my life or career. I think I was like 25 at the time. So obviously my first challenge, their other menu stuff was easy for me. I don't want to brag like that, but it was like, what am I going to push myself to learn? So the pizza oven was there. I spent 6 to 8 months doing their pizza program. And then I realized, it can be better. So I worked at that job, did pizza for about 2 years, 3 years. And then the pandemic hit and lost my job, did all that. I was experimenting with sourdough. Everybody went through that sourdough crazy phenomenon during the pandemic. I actually started that when I started that job like 10 years ago, but I never really revisited or even got the chance to put time into that. So this was like my time sitting at home where I can focus on my sourdough starter, breads, and all that. So I took that time, used it, bought a pizza oven by Gosney, the Rock Box, and then I started making pizzas out of my garage. And I used my mom's little KitchenAid mixer that she let me borrow. She actually never ended up getting that back. So thank you, Mom. And I would do 10 dough ball hits out of that little KitchenAid mixer and post it on my Instagram, my personal, and said, hey, I'm doing pizzas during the pandemic. And sure enough, I sold out 56 weeks in a row, turned it into a full-time business. And now we're running a full restaurant as we speak. So yeah, it's been quite a journey.
Let's pause for a second because I reviewed the other episodes about 3 weeks ago when you signed up, and I have some notes here. So I know some things are going to be repetitive if anyone goes back in part 1 and part 2, but there's some clarities that I didn't ask then that I'm going to ask now.
Yeah.
Just because, like a sourdough starter. Like, it's interesting. I think there's a group of population that really understands what that is, but there's a lot of individuals that don't even, it's like a SCOBY in a way. Explain, and that's for kombucha.
Mm-hmm.
Talk to me about what a sourdough starter is, what it means to you, why you brought it up as a topic, because it's more important than I think anyone who doesn't bake bread, specifically sourdough, understands. So can we talk about that a little bit?
Absolutely. So the basic process of starting a sourdough yeast starter is cultivating the microorganisms and live yeast from the air. So you can do it anywhere in the world. There's always some yeast particles here and there. So the initial starting of this process is a 14-day process of taking all organic AP, rye flour, anything that hasn't been basically processed with bleach, because bleach obviously kills organisms and all that. So you want raw, natural ground flour, and you're basically introducing it to 50-50 ratio flour to water. And you're going to leave it on the counter lid open. So all those organisms and stuff can cultivate from the air and go into the starter or your little concoction, as we want to call it. So then the first day goes, you take that, you cut it in half, you add another 50-50 of flour to water to just a little bit of what you already had from the night before. And you do that for 14 days in a row. And what that will do is slowly build the yeast cultures and microorganisms in the air and create a living actual yeast. So from there, you can take that, refeed it. Once you get your cell count all the way up to like full potential to bake bread, and then you can keep that in the fridge for years and years. And it's always going to be a living organism that you started in your house that you could make fresh bread or anything with.
I love it. It's incredible.
Yeah, it's amazing science, bro.
Yeah, it's something that I'm just blown away by. It's just floating out there waiting for us to capture it in a sourdough starter.
Right. One of my favorite things about this process is, I don't know if you've ever heard of, doctors will talk about people having allergies. And one of the first things doctors or other people will tell you is eat local honey. The reason for that is because your body is reacting to the pollens in the air that are around your environment, right? When you eat local honey, the bees are already equipped to that local pollination. So when you eat local honey, your body gets introduced to those microorganisms, which then will lead for you to eat that and your body to adjust. And then slowly those allergies will go away. So eating local honey is like basically eating the source of your environment and then also putting it into your body so your microorganisms can be familiar with it. Same thing with sourdough. So when you eat bread, your metabolism slows down from processed flour. So if you eat sourdough, local sourdough, your body and all the organisms around you is already introduced. So you're building a good, healthy gut that your body will help increase your metabolism to break down quicker so you don't feel like shit later, which is just amazing.
Yeah, I think it's 100% incredible. It's just mind blowing. You mentioned selling out every day out of the garage and stuff like that. I want to just talk about something. The 2 years you spent in the restaurant doing pizza in the pizza oven, perfecting that program, for lack of a better term, getting experience in that. I mean, I don't know if you were did you like pizza personally? I'm not like, I know the answer, but I'm going to just ask it for the audience. But I think the most important thing is, talk to me about that 2 years of apprenticeship basically with pizza.
Okay. So basically when I got in there, I really didn't have executive chef. I had an executive chef, but he wasn't by any means a master of pizza. So that kind of gave me a platform for me to be on my own. I'll never forget when the owner came in and she was like, "Hey, make me a pizza." And I made one for her. And, I went over all excited. I was like, "How was it?" And she was like, "Listen, you need to go home and research Neapolitan pizza because that was not it." And that kind of hit me hard. So that's where I kind of went into my own realm of trying to figure out what is Neapolitan pizza, what is tradition, what is the reason of this beautiful oven in this restaurant. And that's where I kind of like, turned around and I put all my effort into that, because how are you going to have an $80,000 pizza oven, the centerpiece of your restaurant, and you can't make the best pizza? So yeah, that's kind of where that started.
Yeah, because that is like, it sounds like it's Neapolitan pizza also. I think you do different pizzas, or have you narrowed it down now? But then you're sort of messing and learning something that's different than probably what you've done before. So trial and error.
It's all brand new. I've never made bread before. So this was like a whole different, this was Pandora's box. You know what I mean? I had no idea what I was getting myself into.
Yeah, I think it's incredible that while we see so much pizza out there, it's actually more complicated than we think, especially if it's done right, not just commercially and industrially. There is a difference, a large difference, a significant difference in quality and health of the food, even though you may see price difference, but there is a health difference in the food when done, made the way that we're talking about, even pizza.
Absolutely.
So I think we often categorize like, oh, all chicken nuggets are bad, or all pizza might be bad for you, things like that in generalization, but it's not true. Okay, so let's just start there. The way food is combined, the naturalness of food, the organisms in the food, the way we eat it, it all matters. So I think
we put into it, right?
Yeah. And we've got to be very careful of standardizing things like this. Is it okay to standardize a gallon as a gallon? Of course, we need measurement and we need stuff like that. But standardization in terms of saying this is ultimately bad for you, well, there's a lot of context behind it. Where was it grown? How was it grown? How was it processed? Was it processed? Things like that. So those are just questions that I wanted to talk about. Let's talk about how did you get from the garage, your home, into your first sort of restaurant type situation?
So basically we started in New York. Governor Cuomo at the time he shut down bars and breweries and wineries and cideries. If you did not have food, you were not allowed to be open. So that kind of right now, Rochester saw the last 5 years the biggest expansion in breweries and craft wine and all that stuff. So we really that was our prime time, market right there, was just tap rooms and all this. So when I started making pizzas out of my garage and these businesses were being shut down, I already had a familiar face in the industry. So, a simple text to my friends being like, hey, want to open your tap room? I'll come do pizzas in your parking lot. And that, at that point during the pandemic, it was a lifesaver. I mean, these people were able to pay employees and, generate money for their businesses instead of closing the doors. So from the garage, we went to 3-4 days a week, booking private parties to doing, we called them pop-ups all over Rochester. I mean, we drove to Jamestown. We drove wherever people needed us, basically. We felt like we were on a mission to help people, but also to stick with this cool product that we truly believed in. So we did that. And then finally the pandemic was winding down, and one of my friends at the time bought an old historic bar in Rochester and they were remodeling it. And he was like, listen, I know the winter's coming. And we did 2 winters in a row of, 5-degree weather, stuck in a tent, cold as hell. And we were just like over making pizzas outside. And he's like, why don't you, commit to being the Richmond Thursday, Friday, Saturdays every week and, give us a small fee for renting the kitchen and you can have all your own food sales. So at that time, going into October, it's getting cold. I was like, let's do it. It won't hurt to take a chance. And sure enough, we opened the Richmond, and, there were some partners that ended up leaving in the first 3 months. And I was kind of just like in limbo there by myself. And we knew one thing, that the sales were still there. So we kept it going. And yeah, that was our first opportunity for getting our foot in a door into a restaurant or a bar.
Yeah, I love it. I like the coordination there. It's kind of funny, 2 years now since then, almost, COVID sort of coming to an end-ish. Or what I would call the hysteria coming to an end.
Mm-hmm.
I forget about all the hoops and stuff that everyone had to jump through those 2 years, and the way the politicians handled everything and just literally ruined businesses. I'm not even going to go there.
They tried their hardest to make it challenging. They didn't have in my opinion, they didn't have a good plan or thought process. It was just, we don't know what to do. Let's do this. Let's do that. Where, at that point, the community was looking at you for guidance. You know what I mean? So,
well, Yeah, and what happened is whether we like it or not, the instability or the things they're like, oh, politicians and government, it's so unstable. Well, we kind of did it, honestly, because
We
like
did.
in
Absolutely.
a way, we empowered them. Then when things got crazy, we looked to the leaders in our communities who had no other choice but to rebel against the government to survive, to lead their
They really
community.
didn't.
And that's the truth, guys. Like, there was no other choice based on what was going on for the future growth, positivity, optimism, life to keep going, for there to be a group of rebels that will rebel against everything and, in a sense, rebel against the government.
I mean, the health department, when we were doing our whole thing, we didn't have health permits or anything. Yes, we were making pizzas out of 900-degree oven. Did they shut us down at all? No, because they knew we needed to. We were helping other
Yeah.
businesses. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
When everything settled, they were like, "Okay, now it's time to tighten up your stuff." But man, during that time, we were like, "Well, now they can't open." They were like, "Oh shit! Well, next time, make sure you know what I mean." But as like you said, we fended for ourselves. We had no other option.
Yeah, and it's a blanket statement. And there's a lot of communities and towns, I think, that handled things and did things differently, or states that were able to thrive amongst it. I think
Mhm.
Nashville being one of them. All, even though they did mask, I think they did very well of trying to stay open and deal with everything, because it is a town. Although there were months where musicians didn't make any money, considering they made money on the stages and
Right.
bars and bartenders, because it's a gig town there. So towns like that really, decisions like that just destroyed not only individual homes or dreams, but it also, on a micro level, it also just wiped out like whole economies and the way money moves. So
Yeah, I mean, at that level too, those are like self-employed musicians, right? So how do you even tell the government that you had a job to collect unemployment or any of that? Like that must have been rough, you know what I mean? Because they're always asking for document proof of like your recent employer or if you have had a job. So I'm sure that industry got hit hard.
yeah, exactly. So let's talk about I don't know where it is or how it's happened. We just briefly mentioned it as we were in pre-call or pre-record, whatever it's called,
Mhm.
pre-production.
Yeah.
The You've moved to another location. Talk to me about why, decisions, steps, thought processes, and how that's going.
So we decided to move after, I would say after the first two owners in that little 3 month period at the Richmond broke up. The original owner was kind of looking for. He didn't want to do it. Like the big thing was the guy that left was the guy in charge of operating. So the guy that put the money in was like, now that guy's gone. I don't, he just didn't want to do it. So he was looking to sell the place. So through my connections, I got some of my brewing friends to look at the spot. They ended up buying it, which was great. They remodeled the whole entire Richmond. Really, really did a great job with all that. But in that process, I did not have a contract, which is, a big mistake on my end. Definitely one of my biggest regrets. But so I did have a contract. They gave me the whole, we want you to stay here, this, and that. But then it got down to the nitty gritty. And these guys just didn't want me there anymore. So we ended up coming to an agreement. So, I was going to be out. I packed my entire team up and the whole entire restaurant, and we got out of there and we went back to the pop-up game. We started a little barbecue pop-up. I reached out to all my local friends. We did about 2 more months of going back to our roots. Luckily, we pulled the trigger end of July. So we had August and September to really try to find something. I was basically LeBron James, a free agent. You know what I mean? During that whole time, I got many calls from many local businesses as people in Rochester right now. The restaurant industry is kind of plateaued. I would say it kind of hit its max capacity or peak, and now what we're starting to see is a little bit of oversaturation with breweries, wineries, cideries, and restaurants. So right now, the value of having somebody come into your establishment with a food program, established food program, and generate sales, I mean, my value was pretty high. So I kind of sat back and I let the phone calls come in. And then I actually had to make a quicker decision than I wanted to based off just keeping the ship going. And we landed at just down the street from our old location, a place called Sager's Stoneyard Brew Pub, which is a tap room. It's two breweries merged into one, and they have a small little kitchen. So their kitchen wasn't doing great. And, with the formula of staffing, you know, ordering and all that, they thought, it'd be a better decision to bring me and my team in to run our current program that we were doing at the Richmond. So we all settled down and made an agreement, and we moved in on September 7th. So we've been going for a couple months now there, and everything's been absolutely awesome.
It's amazing. Talk to me about the decision to go back to the roots. Like, what did it feel like? I mean, it's a little bit of a humbling experience, I have to imagine. It's going backwards can sometimes feel like. Talk to me about how you handled it, what it felt like to lead your team through it. But I mean, because you are a leader,
It was emotional, man.
Yeah.
It was very emotional. I don't want to unemploy anybody. That's like the biggest thing that really, really like weighed on me when I'm trying to fall asleep at night. Is like, I have such a great team, such great employees. Like, how do I provide for them? Because the business is the business. That's great. You know, Also, just like over at the Richmond, the employees over there, I've built great relationship with them. And I was like, I have no control over the staff of what's going on there when they're my good friends. So unfortunately, I had to push that aside and focus on my employees and my employees only. But man, I I feel awful for those guys. But I mean, they were only closed for I think 2 weeks, so it wasn't that big of a deal. But still, I mean, I know those guys took care of their employees, but the change that was involved in that movement was, impactful for everybody. So with my employees, I just wanted to make sure that we had at least a paycheck being filled every single week so they didn't miss or it didn't fuck up their lifestyle, if I would say. You know what I mean? So we had a decent amount of funds in the bank account, and we just kept pushing. And I mean, we did private parties. We kind of reverted. It was summertime in August, so we did this cool little barbecue pop up. My sous chef Nico, who's, man, what an incredible person. Hard work ethic, all that. He has a big following on barbecue. So this was we always wanted to do a little barbecue type thing, and this was our opportunity. So I linked up with a bar downtown called Aquavite, which our friends own and operate. And, they make really good craft cocktails at a tequila bar. And, they let us use their little kitchen space, and there was nothing back there. I mean, we had a toaster oven, we had a steam well, and one burner. And we made it happen, man. We did Thursday, Friday, Saturday barbecue pop up. We did chicken wings, ribs. Nico's got a huge smoker. We parked it out front, and yeah, we were bringing in about $2,000 to $3,000 a week, honestly, which is pretty amazing for just two people formulating the game plan on the fly and just setting up shop almost anywhere we could find. So it was pretty cool.
I just, did it help your brand? Did it help going back to the roots and refining what you were doing? Did it add anything new to it? How did it do for the camaraderie of your team? Just in general, I mean, it wasn't very long, so, but at the same time, it is sort of an experience.
Right. I mean, we owned almost everything at the Richmond. So when we made this decision, I had a 2-month game plan of formulating how do we get. The only thing we didn't own were the fryers and the coolers. So we owned sheet trays, like all the kitchen accessories, all that. And let me tell you, we needed almost 2 storage units to fill pots, pans, all that. So we we nipped it in the butt. We did every 2 weeks. We rented a truck, moved it down to a storage unit, all that stuff. But the camaraderie in that process, man, those guys I've never seen those guys work so hard in my life. They knew we had a mission, and they were like, excuse my language, but they were like, we're here to fuck shit up. So we fucking, even like the owners of the Richmond were just like, how'd you guys just do that in 2 days? And we were like, because we got things to do here, and we don't have time to waste. So definitely build a huge bond between me and Nico. And, like we say, what we just went through, we can go anywhere and do whatever we want because we know that we have that in the bullpen. We know that we've done it before. So if we have to do it again, we're not scared. We're not worried. We're not, we have that confidence now.
Yeah, I think I want to talk about that a little bit. Talk to me about, it's something you had to do in pizza. It's something you had to do with your team. Now that you've done that, how did it contribute as you went in and opened the space there? You guys you're going into a kitchen. It's another new space. Your team's going in there. Talk to me about that transition. And you had to put a pizza oven in there, I assume.
Yep. So that was probably the biggest, scariest part of this entire move. So basically, I'm sponsored by Gosney, which is phenomenal because they've been absolutely incredible through this whole process. Once I reached out to Nate from Gosney and said, hey, listen, we're moving away from the Morrow Forney oven, which is the $50,000 oven that was at the Richmond. I was like, what do you suggest? And he sent me this link, and they just recently designed these new Gosney domes that are, they can convert them into natural gas. So basically all their products are for outdoor cooking, propane. And with the health department, you're not allowed to have propane inside of a building, obviously. So he sent me this link. It was 2 Gosney pizza ovens, natural gas hookups. So I was like, oh my God, this is actually revolutionary, right? Like, these ovens are only $2,000 a piece, and you can put them inside of a kitchen as long as it's ventilated properly. So they took care of me on the pizza ovens. They're like, we're so excited that you don't have to use that pizza oven anymore. And now, like, you can use your sponsorship company to, promote and do all that stuff on my end, which was great. And then we formulated a game plan of where the ovens were going to go. And now if anybody's seen our setup in the kitchen, we have 2 separate ovens that can fire 1 pizza at a time, which is okay with us because we cook them in 90 seconds. So we really have no lag time on ticket times or orders. And then, we just had to reformulate their kitchen, redo it all, and then get the menu up and running. And that took about a week.
So did you change the menu or change some of the items because of different equipment, different location, different prep area? So talk to me about how you break that down as a chef or as an entrepreneur. How did you sort of not try to stuff a circle peg down a square hole and then hope the rest of the edges would be filled? Talk to me about that. This is different than trying to squeeze something that doesn't fit. It fits always. It just may not fit completely, but you made it fit completely by tweaking your menu.
Right. So basically we took, the standard copy of our menu. We knew we were going into a little, I don't want to say downplayed area, but we were going into more of a wide variety of age group and all that. So we wanted to make the menu a little more friendly, as I would say. So we definitely revamped the pizza menu. We kept our number 1 sellers. Like, for example, our Quattro Formaggio had pistachio pesto. So something we did was just take the pistachio pesto off, turn it into a 4-cheese pizza. You know what I mean? So I wanted to help try to bridge the gap of the menu to our new guests and clientele in a way of not scaring them. So we revamped the pizza menu that way. We put like a barbecue pizza on there versus like Italian soppressata pizza. You know what I mean? We're trying to bridge the gap of that generation and all that. And then we don't have a fryer. So our chicken wings were steamed, frozen at the Richmond, and deep fried. Classic barbecue or a classic buffalo style chicken wings. During that month that we had at Aquavite with the barbecue pop-ups, we refined and worked a ton of time on this new chicken wing that we really believed in. A more higher end chicken wing, something that involved process and technique and effort. So we did a smoked barbecue chicken wing. So instead of having the fryer, because we don't have a fryer now, these chicken wings were brined for 24 hours, smoked for 3 to 4 hours, and then they were breaded in a gluten free cornstarch and rice flour mixture that really sealed that crispy side of the chicken wing that everybody wants. So
Can we just repeat that in case anyone wasn't paying attention right there? Can we
yeah,
just, let's do it one more time, please? Rewind. Let's do it again. Because that
all
was
right. So
incredible. I enjoy, this is a big deal.
yeah, these wings are a big deal, and if you haven't been out to try them, please come out. It took us 3 to 4 months to perfect them, but they are perfect right now. So what we do is we in a salt sugar brine, we brine them for 24 hours, then we strain them off, and then we smoke them for 3 to 4 hours, almost fully cooked, about 80% of the way. And then we take a gluten-free rice and cornstarch mixture and we pack them overnight. And what that does is as soon as they come off the smoker, that cornstarch or rice flour stick right to them, right in the cooler, and then we portion them. So it gives you that beautiful, light, crispy, kind of counteracts that buffalo crispy chicken wing that, everybody seeks for. But they're also juicy too. So
Yeah, I love this. I think it's what a great addition to the menu and a unique way of staying true to yourself, both your experience as a chef before getting into pizza and then also recognizing that there is change needed and there is a way to do it healthier and there is a way to do it that caters to a greater portion of the population at this time, makes it safer for them allergy wise. So I like this.
absolutely.
Why? Talk to me about why change the chicken wing? Why not just buy it from Cisco? Why not just whoever? Why not just do what everyone else does?
Well, when we were at the Richmond, I was in that position of I didn't have the cooler space because there was downstairs in the cooler, and I was trying to figure out how to do fresh wings, and you know there was no outcome to this other than buying the frozen expensive wings. So as we reformulated a game plan for the new spot, I knew I needed to save a bunch of money too. And the only way to do that was not to pay the $5.80 or it was $5.80 per pound for the frozen chicken wings versus the $2 a pound fresh chicken wing. But in that gap from $2 to $5.80, how can I generate the value of this chicken wing? How can I push it to be a better chicken wing? And that involves labor, time, and energy that Nico and I have put almost everything into. So every week, to save those pennies, I've been going to Restaurant Depot and getting the fresh wing and brining them and smoking them and doing all this. And, it's a process of saving hundreds and thousands of dollars at the end of the day when you look at that P&L sheet for your business. You know what I mean? So we thought that was definitely the move. Also, I didn't have a fryer. So I had to buy a small little tabletop fryer for our new location in the new kitchen. And because they're about 80% cooked coming off the smoker, the pickup for these chicken wings is 2 to 3 minutes, lightly fried in this little tabletop fryer and sent right out. There's nothing going out more than 10 minutes in this kitchen. So
It's incredible. And how much has that changed? How much when you were there's a lot of things learning from before into what you're doing now. Obviously, freshness is core to who you are.
absolutely.
Giving people a reasonable price for a meal, but at a high quality is also important, and making sure there's value there and profit, obviously, to keep everyone employed in your business doing well and growing, which is important as well. You mentioned something. Talk to me about the importance a little bit of your relationship and a Nico or a chef and a sous chef, like those relationships are important. I think they're unique, especially in what we're talking about here, being able to produce things or have someone to lean on. And that way, sometimes it's a chef, sous chef thing, since you do come from a chef background. Talk to me a little bit about that.
Yeah, I mean, I personally think it all starts. That whole conversation starts with the work ethic. The executive chef to some degree has to always set the tempo. I mean, it's about work ethic, and do these two people have the same work ethic? And in our situation, absolutely. I mean, we are 100% dedicated. We love, we eat, we dream, we breathe this company. And it's good to have somebody to lean on during that process. And, with that being said, it's important for, you know, chemistry. Everybody, when these things boil down to, it's all chemistry. It's these strengths and weaknesses. And, having executive chef and a sous chef, I mean, you guys could be world class in certain things, but when the formula, or when you formulate a game plan and contribute to the business, how do you put that against the business plan or profitability or labor or all this? It's all chemistry at the end of the day for me, and personality. I've worked with I've had a great sous chefs, but at the end of the day, we just didn't work great together. And have I had sous chefs that are culinary way more advanced than Nico? Absolutely. Have I had sous chefs that, you know, have a good head on their shoulders? Absolutely. But it's the full package. And Nico is definitely the full package for me, where he knows my left, right, down at every moment. That's the most important thing.
Awesome. I think that, how that all comes together in a team is important as well. Talk to me about how you form a team. What are you looking for? We talked a little bit about work ethic. What else is important to you? Because you have different positions in your team that are important, that definitely are directly related to the value of your business or service or food, at least from a perspective standpoint. How do you choose them? How did you find them? You've obviously done it before for others. Now you're doing it for yourself. Like, how does that look?
Yeah, honestly, when I think of that question, I just feel really like blessed and honored. I've had really good people under me that have been wanting to be there, which is the number one thing, is people want to work with me. And like I said, there might be, you might do it for a year or two and then you might go do your thing. But like everybody, Nico reached out to me almost 3 years ago on Instagram and said, I want to come work for you. And from that day, we taught him how to make pizza. I mean, we just have given him the platform to become successful. So, it's all about encouraging, developing, nurturing in some type of way. Cause, this industry isn't the best. We're always going through shit. So we got to have a good support team. We got to make sure that our working environment is safe and fun to come to. We got to leave our BS at the door sometimes. And, we just got to keep pushing forward. And a lot of that stems from positivity. If you don't come in and your boss isn't in a good mood, then most likely you're not going to be in a good mood. So I make sure every day that we at least carry that energy and set the tempo every day of being successful, because that's the root of that formula to me.
Amazing vision, sort of purpose. Talk to me about where, now that you've got your feet underneath you, it's taken a little bit of time to find your own sort of footing, being able to have a menu that's sort of what I would call more truly yours.
Yep.
Where now things have changed, you've pivoted a couple times. Where's your vision going now?
So
where do you want this to go?
So we signed a 6-month lease with Sager Stoneyard. That's up in February. We already have the conversations of staying and revamping. And, my first 6 months there, I really just wanted them to see what we have to offer, what we can bring. Trying to learn from my last experience with Mortalis and the Richmond. I don't want to feel undervalued in some type of way. And, I thought the 6 month lease with Sager Stone Yard would give me the opportunity or platform to show them what we have to offer. And then after that, we could formulate a game plan if we want to keep this connection or business opportunity going. And by all means, they are overwhelmed with record breaking sales the last 6 months we've been there. And, we're formulating a game plan to make it our permanent home. But with that being said, I definitely, I want to create a nice storefront with that and revamp some things. And we still have some people coming in and being like, is this Dough Boyz? So I think, after the 6 month lease was perfect for me to really keep the food where it's at, focus on the food, make sure the food's always going to be consistent and always good. But now that we're comfortable there and we can look at the future and know that we 99% have a home here, I want to create a better storefront where people know where to get Dough Boyz at all times and how to get it and the location, and just bring in more awareness to that area because it's a great area in Rochester. There's tons of parking, which we did not have at the Richmond, and just a nicer neighborhood. So we definitely started doing online ordering through Sager Stone Yard, which has been an awesome thing. I'd love to also throttle that as, my 2025 goal of, creating a better storefront area for us and pushing more sales. So that's kind of where I'm looking now.
I love this. I love it. Gosh, I'm so impressed by where you've come. One of the things I love about this show is the willingness of the guests to continue to do parts, even years later now. Right. And being able to turn this show, it's not about stories anymore. Stories are snapshots. These are journeys. And
absolutely.
And it's part of the entrepreneur, because otherwise snapshots can often make you feel alone if you're listening as an entrepreneur. Like, oh, they did all this and they have all this going in. How do they do it? But you never know. It's sort of like, great, you're anchored to that. But what I found as an entrepreneur that helped me the most is being surrounded by my peers of entrepreneurs. If I was around I loved my employees and all the workers and all the executives and directors. Most of the time, I love them. Don't get me wrong. I am an imperfect human. But I will say, wow, I lost my train of thought. But what were we just talking about?
Pushing Dough Boyz to be 2025.
Yeah. So I think one of the things that I love about the journey that you're on is that, I was just reflecting that journeys are also full of reflecting on mistakes. That was my thought process there. But absolutely, we do make them. But the journey is a snapshot. And I think as an entrepreneur, we're often alone in the world and we make a lot of mistakes. And when I surrounded myself around my peers, I was fine. If I spent too much time around those that were so involved in the business and not more focused on the business, that you have to be like as an entrepreneur, for sure. It's hard. You lose track of things sometimes, or maybe the ideas coming out aren't always the best. That's not like saying it shouldn't come internal, but at the same time, you need a support system at a higher level that is also going through things the way that you are. That's part of the reason I started the show. It was for me to learn. It was for me to build community amongst entrepreneurs so they didn't feel alone, even if it's just through a podcast. And right. It's as many times as I've had ups and downs, and I've sort of taken time off this last time, really just to get my life together and figure out what I want to do. And as I got, I would say, pushed, pulled, moved, called back into the direction to do the podcast and use my voice to help others share their voices, I realized that it's also about the human growth a lot. It's also about how we impact people, how we impact the entrepreneurs that are in our connections, how we influence our employees, how we then grow everyone. So there's a lot there. But what I'm really trying to say is there's a lot of information on these shows. There's a lot of, you're not alone in your problems, but you're also not alone in filtering out ideas. And there's ideas being filtered out and individuals to reach out here. And one of the common things I see or I've heard now, particularly where there's clusters like New York City or Los Angeles or Denver or Nashville, is the common thing is, people will reach out and be like, oh, you were on the Justin the Food Entrepreneur show. So was I. Oh, blah, 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 blah. And then they connect. And I think that's the goal here. Okay. That's why there's nothing else here other than connecting people, connecting entrepreneurs, doing what you talked about, having a good human that comes into our business, that we grow in our business. You said, Nico, and then that individual can help us continue to grow as entrepreneurs. And in that meaning, we need fellowship. I think that's
absolutely
the word I should have just said instead of mumbling on for like 6 minutes. But
I think to address that, that one thing I do have a really good, face or connection in the Rochester, restaurant scene. And, one of the things as my growth as, a human and business professional is to support other local businesses. And in Rochester, it just seems like that's not a priority for anybody. It's been, up and down, up and down, and up and down. And, like I said, we've had this market of saturation where, just in the last month, we've heard 3 breweries closing, 3 restaurants closing. And, this breaks my heart. This hurts. And yes, the market might be oversaturated, but at the end of the day, what a business professional like me wants to do is keep the community together and help and support in any type of way. And, I just hope Rochester can, to the most degree, follow the footsteps in that, because I think it will build a better community and have a resource for networking down the board for everybody to, at least if they do go through that, they have a support system, so we're looking longevity here on just like the community and everything. So, yeah.
I love it. This is awesome. I think that the community being involved in it as entrepreneurs, our impact, our influence, I keep talking about it on these shows, on not only on the level that we think of, but we're talking on biblical levels, legacy, generational building, if we really capitalize on the impact and influence we have as entrepreneurs. I'm going to keep pushing it. And I know it makes people uncomfortable because it means we have to look at ourselves and self-reflect on what we're doing wrong and who we are. And it's not pretty. And sometimes it's a really dark journey when we really go back and deal with it. But I will guarantee you, your businesses will grow, your reputation will grow, your character will grow as you go and you deal with whatever spiritual maladies, sinful patterns, character defects, mental obstacles, whatever we want to call them. I have all of them. Yeah, I have all of them.
It's all there if you like it or not.
Yeah.
I mean, some people don't want to admit it or all that, but you can't hide from it. And if you communicate and you have the support, you can get through anything. So that's a firm belief.
Talk to me about personal, like, role models. We've talked a little bit about it before. Maybe is it the same now? Has the individuals you look up to or mentors or people that are involved in your life, let's call it your influential circle, has that changed over the last 2 years as you've changed?
Absolutely.
Talk to me about that and how and why, and because you're a very tapped in, energy wise person. So I just want to, this is something that's very special about you as a leader and an entrepreneur.
Thank you.
Yeah.
My influences and all those people have definitely changed, as I grow the business and I start to see the culinary side of things. My culinary influences will always be there and always, support me. But, I've really leaned really hard on my best friend, Ricky, for personal and business advice. He runs and manages and owns Smash It Sports, which is a pretty big softball company. And they're doing millions of dollars a year in sales and all that stuff. But, his philosophies and the way he views things and the way he wants to market things, it's always 2 to 3 steps ahead of what the trend is. And you can see it. And when you talk to him and, all that stuff. So basically, moving forward, I just have been really leaning on him and just being like, how do I grow the business in the way of using social media to really capture sales and, really use this platform and getting results out of the platform. Because everybody, believe it or not, a lot of those accounts with 25, 30, 40,000 followers, that's cool and all, right? But what generates sales at the end of the day? And that's the most impactful thing on your business. It's not the likes that you're getting. It's not the views you're getting on reels. It's about the people walking through the door and spending money on your business and product that you are trying to sell. So how do we capture more of that in-depth group to continue walking through the door excited to be there and also making sure they get the product that you are advertising to the fullest? So I mean, thank you to my friend Ricky to always be pushing me to seeing the real side of things. And I think the fact that he's not in hospitality and he's in a different side of sales business, I think that just is a nice common ground of really focusing on the small details and not the things around it, the fluff. So
I'm going to ask another question as well from an energy standpoint. Moving from the energy of the Richmond and the environment with what was going on there and the partnerships and the lack of ability, almost like caging your creativity, I'll call it. Talk to me about the difference in the ability to grow or you to grow or your individuals to grow potentially from there till now. I mean, before it was great because an opportunity is an opportunity, but I want to look at it as hindsight, not as something that wasn't appreciated, guys. Don't get me wrong, or there is a gratitude there. Correct. But I want to just do it comparatively from a growth standpoint.
Yeah, I mean, I think just the quality of life for me and my staff is above and beyond at our new location versus the Richmond. We're going. Then we have different hours. So it's 4 to 9 or 4 to 9:30, where at the Richmond we were going to 11. And, just the whole get up of by the time you get out at 11, it's not 11. You know what I mean? You're getting out at 12, 1 o'clock, and then you got to get back at it the next day. So the quality of life for this new location for Nico and I, we're more dialed in. We're focusing on the craft. We're getting more rest, which will allow us to focus more on the craft. And, it's just a way better quality of life at our new location.
I love it. I think it's spot on, and life gives you what you can handle and the doses that you can handle it, and God sort of does that for us. And it's sort of what's happened here. It's allowed you to grow, also give you time to reflect in that time off doing pop-ups to reflect on your roots and appreciate where you've been and where you're going. I
think one of the biggest things at Sager is they are giving us the platform to be successful in the way that we want to be successful. And what I mean about that, it's everything's thought out. These guys are all about trying new things, but it's a system and it's a collaboration of us trying to figure out what's the best move for it. Where in my old situation, it was we need to open. The longer we're open, the more money we make, the better we'll do. And it's like sometimes you got to hone in and capitalize on every factor or situation around. Just because more money coming in doesn't mean you're not going to spend more money on labor or product waste. 7 days a week is exhausting. Can you staff the kitchen? Can you staff you know what I mean? And the guys at Sager, they're all about sitting down and making sure all these factors are on the table before we pull the trigger. And that's something I appreciate and I'm very thankful for.
I think it's awesome. This is going to be my last major question. I'll have a small question afterwards, but this is a major one. the influence impact, you talked about the community. You're obviously wanting things to go well there. Well, talk to me about that involvement. Well, let me back up a second. Are you from Rochester originally?
Correct. Yep.
Okay, so there's a
Born and
tie
raised.
there always, right? It's your
Yep.
hometown. So talk to me about the importance of the community, the positive impact and influence that you want to make on it, because we touched on it, but I just want to expand on it to a greater level, what it means to you, why do it, emphasis on why spend your time doing this, why you already have a business to run, you've already got 10 million other things to do, why also worry about the community that, so
Yeah. I
let's
mean,
talk about that.
I think at the end, right now, Rochester, like I said, Rochester's kind of in this weird little funk where like there are a lot of people out there really trying to hurt other businesses. Like, yeah, if you look on certain social medias, we have an industry page in Rochester right now that just banters other industry or restaurants. The whole page is created to hurt other businesses. And that's the stuff that I stay away from. That's the stuff I don't want to get involved in. But, you know, what's so important about sticking together and building a community and, going, when I say go like supporting, it's not saying, hey, I like these guys. It's going in their or it's going in their place and spending money, showing your face, saying, hey, how you doing? Checking up. January, February, the worst months of a restaurant. I'm going out as much as possible to go visit my friends and go see how they're doing, checking in, spending money, and being socially involved in that movement. And I think at the end of the day, it's all support. I would want the same thing. That's who I am. Some people don't want the support. You don't have to put the effort in. But when it comes down to it, for me, I want the support because I want to know that I at least tried and I at least impacted the community in a way that I can sleep good at night. So yeah, I think giving back is always the best way to show your true support.
Yeah, love it. What new things on the menu are you working on? Are there other things other than the chicken wings? You're a creative guy. Is there other things? And I want to go back to the barbecue thing. Is that still something that you're wanting to work on as well? So I have two questions there. Creativeness, because you are a chef by nature or by training, however we want to do it. It's something that's inside of you. And then also the barbecue thing, because I'm fascinated by that.
Yeah, we're definitely I just actually bought a new truck. So I've never had a truck this year. I was like, I had to get rid of my BMW. I was like, I'm getting a truck and I'm gearing up towards catering season. With being at Sager Stone Yard, we're so excited that we have Sundays off. And what that does is it gives me a platform to do on-site catering events for Sunday. We're talking graduation parties, birthday parties. Come summertime, I want to be able to, drive to your house or drive to a park and set up and bring the smoker and do some cool food. So the barbecue thing was always a little side gig that we wanted to like eventually offer catering. And I think this summer is the summer for us. So yeah, I'm just kind of gearing up. It's been a process. And now we got our recipes dialed in. Man, Nico makes the best baby back ribs. We're just like super excited about catering season coming up. So you're going to be seeing a lot of pushing catering season on our page very soon and just getting ready for that.
You guys gonna put Rochester on the map for barbecue? I hope. Maybe
You know what?
come up with your own style.
I don't want to be this guy, but
Yeah.
we don't have good barbecue in Rochester.
No, you don't.
Let me tell you,
Yeah.
Nico's barbecue is the best barbecue I've had in Rochester. And I would love to just do it and just spark a little fire under people's ass to
Yeah.
outdo us. I would love for somebody to be like, fuck those guys. I can make better barbecue and just start that whole chain. Cause that's one thing in Rochester. We're known for dinosaur barbecue, but it's the same, you know, barbecue that's, it's great. Don't get me wrong, but I'm just saying we can do better. So
Yeah,
I'm excited
I'm
to push that
interested
out.
where your creativity is going to take this. The support of the community you have, putting Rochester on the map for more things, I would say, and something really a staple in food. I think it's something that's in your path just based on who you are, where you've gone, where you've pivoted, your partnerships. I think the trajectory here is something greater on a creative level, especially with the growth mindset that you have.
Thank you. I appreciate that.
Yeah, you're very welcome.
We are starting something very cool. Starting next month, I've teamed up with a bunch of local chefs, really good chefs, and we're going to start doing beer and pizza dinners. So basically, we do a 5-course pizza dinner. You get a slice of 5 different types of pizza, and we pair it with Sager Stoneyard beer. But now we're introducing a guest chef from the local area who has been doing it for as long as me, and they're my buddies, and I just want to get them in there so they can, 1, promote themselves and their restaurants, and 2, give them a creative side where they can come in and have the platform to do something cool with us. So February 4th will be our first celebrity chef pizza dinner, and we're super excited to do this every month until nobody wants to do it anymore. So
it sounds like a YouTube channel.
Yes, sir. Gotta promote it for sure.
Yeah, exactly. Last thing, what do you want to share with the audience? Anything that you feel your personal growth, your entrepreneurial growth, maybe spiritual growth, whatever it's been over the last 18 months, if there's anything that you've learned or you feel that could be helpful to other entrepreneurs or anyone in general that you would want to share, what would it be?
I just know you're going to make mistakes. And if you do right and due diligence to building a good community and a good, friend core relationships, when you make those mistakes, people will be there for you to pick you up, and to continue doing that in the right way of not burning bridges and just being a good support. And also, best way to support in the restaurant industry is actually going to that place and, showing your face and spending money and, really believing in what they do. So that would be the advice I have.
Love it. Thank you. Where can they find you online? Where can they find your store or restaurant? Where can they come visit you?
So you can follow us on Dough Boyz Rock on Instagram. It's Boys with a Z. We're located at 46 Sager Drive, right off University Ave in Rochester, New York. And they got 2 tap rooms in there, Sager, Stoneyard, beers, which is 2 breweries mixed. And, it's a great time. Live music. We do games and stuff. So come check us out.
Yeah, it's awesome. Thank you for coming back on the show. Thank you for just continuing to create jobs and do the right thing and stay to yourself and do things truly that are by a standard, I would say a high moral and ethical standard. It matters. And so thank you.
I appreciate it.
Yeah, absolutely. And I definitely will look forward to having you back. I do want to maybe have you and Nico back on and just talk barbecue.
Yeah, so let's do it.
So let's talk about that. I'll send you the link again today, and we'll get you both back on and let's talk some barbecue because I'm very interested. I think there's something there very, very big for you as well as
absolutely
on a bigger level. So I'd love to talk about that. Everyone in the audience, thank you. Your questions as we're releasing the new episodes are coming in. I appreciate that. I appreciate everyone's response, sharing, liking. We're starting to see an increase of interaction again with the show. So I appreciate all that. If you love the entrepreneur, you want to support them, obviously the first way always is to go support them, eat at their place, share it on social media, do all of those things because that matters to those businesses now. All the algorithms, social media, we just have to be honest. If we want to support the businesses, we have to participate. So
I appreciate that. Thank you.
You're very welcome. And then number 2 is if you like this show or you want to support their episode, you can share the episodes, you can like the episodes, you can comment on the episodes. It's the same type of algorithms that work. The episodes that do better, the episodes that have more also get more support, likes and stuff on the platforms that are out there. So that helps those individual episodes and those entrepreneurs get more ears on their entire story, not just a glimpse from social media or a website. This is their whole stories here, or I should say journeys now, since we're going on more of a journey than a story anymore. So that's what I have there. If you want to be on the show, there's a link below in the notes. If you click on the show, you can click on that calendar. That'll give you dates. It is for food and beverage entrepreneurs, hospitality entrepreneurs, farmers, things in those areas, nutrition entrepreneurs. Those are all in that space that we're sort of in this show. But I do and have started inviting support systems. People have asked for it. Entrepreneurs who have been on the show, entrepreneurs that listen to the show have asked for accountants and lawyers and experts in certain things to help guide them in directions, knowing that they eventually need to find their own professionals, because there is no shortcut. You still need your own. But I am happy to bring professionals on, start to guide and help bring in broader conversations and put in my perspective against them, or ways to help guide you guys and at least get the conversations going with your own minds on a greater level on how, in many cases, that as food entrepreneurs, there's definitely layers to make more money in your business right now or in your future. It's just ways of doing it, how you spend the money, how you sort of protect yourself from the taxes and all that, not avoiding them, but sort of build your business in a way that allows your personal wealth to grow in parallel with the wealth and value of the business, where neither one hurt each other. So a lot of things like that I think, as I hear everyone and balancing out life and the ups and downs that we all go through, there's a lot of things that can help, that I can bring forth, and resources that I have and connections that I have. And then also on the spiritual level, I did respond to everyone. I think I am trying to bring that in. Yes, it is hard to bring morals and ethics and Christian values into our businesses, and how to do it more than just we should do it. I have people, there's a Peter Elias episodes that are being released. He's doing it in his restaurants, actively bringing God and ethics to the forefront with his customers, with his employees, and with his guests. And he's building a booming business of restaurants on the East Coast and Maryland beach town. And so those are things that and there'll be other resources. I have people I've met through seminary and through other connections that are going to come on the show and answer some of these broader questions that you guys are asking me, because I can give you my opinion, but I don't think that I think it's time, with the audience and the growth of the audience and the depth of the questions and the level of the entrepreneurs that we're getting across the world, that we start really diving into some of these questions more than just asking the entrepreneurs also, so the entrepreneurs can grow, I can grow, you guys can grow, and we can continue to learn on how to do this and get outside influence on what's going on in the world around us also, and what's affecting us economically, whatever. So politics, whatever it is, there's a lot of things that influence our businesses, especially as we grow, that we will run into, that we need to be prepared for on a greater level. Okay. So just because everything's great doesn't mean laws don't change, governments don't change, politics don't change. We don't make enemies sometimes. So those are all things that happen in the longevity of business, that as we're talking about journeys, that I think as I do this, that I'm going to be giving everyone. I think it's my responsibility to do so based on my spiritual beliefs, that I am facilitating this and connecting everyone, that I need to do it on a greater level that helps not only the individuals, but the individuals and all the organizations that are impacted and influenced, hopefully on a greater level, hopefully on a universal level, on a legacy level, compounding for the individuals. That's not me doing it. That's God working through me, just so everyone's aware. It's not Justin. This is me allowing God to use me and the Holy Spirit to use me as a conduit with the gifts I've been given. And I still have to use my will to pursue it every day. I still have to use my will to record 3 podcasts a day, 4 days a week right now, to stock up and get where we need to be to get to where the marketing supports it and the advertising and pushing it out on social media and doing it properly this time. Because last time, as my life fell apart, I let it all fall apart and I took a leave of absence. It wasn't the way to handle it. for sure, but I did it, and everyone can follow me through that journey. Definitely on my social media page if they want to look at my posts. It's there, since people have asked, why did I stop? My personal life really went upside down. I had to deal with a lot of sinful patterns, spiritual maladies, things that I didn't deal with that caught up for me that were going to do not great things for me. Did they hurt in business? Was I a good business person? Of course. But as time goes on, our businesses, the longer we're in them and growing them as entrepreneur, the more they reflect us, especially our bad parts. And we tend to attract the people that are good like us, but we also attract that 10, 20, 30% that are the other part of us that we're not dealing with. So as long as we don't want those parts in our business, it generally has to come first to not, we want to cut it out of our business for sure. But the reality is it's just going to keep growing back until we stop the source. So in this case, we're the sourdough starter. It starts with us. Whatever bad, whatever's going wrong after us is everything we touch and everything we do. Just like if I were making sourdough bread or pizza, everything starts from that starter. That's us as the entrepreneur. So anyway, thank you, everyone. Lastly, I know I have a lot. I'm trying to get through all the lists that I've been given today. We are also doing networking events and summits in towns and cities over the next 2 years. It isn't a loose schedule. Everything is concrete. Those will start coming out in 2 weeks. They'll start in April of this year. It's anything from a 5 to 6 hour networking event with 2 speakers to a 2-day summit with 4 to 6 speakers, as well as networking events all involved in the summit. So that is something we are doing. It is on a smaller level just because it is for entrepreneurs in those different spaces that are related to the show and are related to where I feel the most impact and influence can be had. It's reasonably priced because I want everyone to be able to afford it and be able to afford the travel. So we're doing the best we can to subsidize it and make it as affordable as possible for everyone, because I want the entrepreneurs out there in the world and the entrepreneurs on the show who want to grow to have a place to be able to do it together and to be able to go through ideas. So there'll be everything from Food Truck University at a summit to how to bring spirituality into your business. And there'll be people with PhDs and master's degrees from Denver Seminary, as well as some other seminaries, Liberty as well, helping assist in those. So it's worth it. You'll hear some of them on the show, but they'll go in more in depth and they'll be able to answer more of your questions that you guys have as entrepreneurs. So it's worth going to the events. You get more one-on-one contact. I will be there, but I think you'll get a lot of entrepreneurs who are going to be there that have been on this show that you can ask direct questions to and maybe build a relationship with. And if you're seeking mentorship or guidance or whatever, I will tell you that a lot of these individuals are more than willing. It's just about building a relationship and showing that you have the discipline, obedience, and dedication and are worthy of mentorship. Sorry to say that, but it's true. You have to be in the right mindset to receive it. And worthiness is from me. I have to be in a position that I know that I'm willing and going to receive it and I'm worthy of it. If I don't care about it, I'm not worthy of it. I know that. That's truth. So that is all I have. Thank you again. James, is there anything else you wanted to add on while I was just rambling on there that you want to close with?
No, I just want to thank you for your time and reaching out. And, it's always nice to connect and, really capture the journey. I'm going to go back and listen to the other two and really see how far we've come. And, like I said, just staying positive and looking forward and building the community is like the good foundation for a good business. So.
Yeah, I always listen to them and I can tell how I change from episode to episode, or where I have a bad episode, or today where I sometimes ramble. I'm trying to do a better job, but I always find that the entrepreneur's ability to talk concisely and with clarity and with confidence. I'll call it the 3 C's. That's how I usually identify it: concise, clarity, and confidence is incredibly improved as the journey goes on, or the more they do events, or the more they're in front of customers speaking, or the more they're on their own social media being the one in front of it. It's an incredible experience. And in today's day and age, just so the audience knows, our personal brand matters as entrepreneurs just as much as our brand.
Absolutely.
Not that it never has. Let's be clear. Personal brand has always meant character. And the problem with today is that personal brand is not a part of who we are. It should be. Our personal brand is our character, our authentic selves, and entirely who we are. And that's what we should be putting out to the world, good, bad, or indifferent. That's the way it is. So, and I got to be honest with you, people will follow you because of your imperfections just as much as your quote unquote perfections. So thank you everyone for listening in. I love you guys. I appreciate it. Again, share, like, do whatever you need to the episode. Will you tell us one more time where we can find you online?
Dough Boyz Rock, Boys with a Z, at Sager and Stoneyard Brew Pub.
Wow. What a great show. I appreciate it.
Thank you.
Thank you guys again. And I love you. And we're out.